In this talk, we turn our attention from what unconventional thinking frameworks are to how useful they truly are in practice. Creative frameworks can open remarkable possibilities, but only when they are applied with awareness and intent. We'll explore the strengths that make these frameworks powerful, the limitations that can quietly undermine them, and the situations where each one shines or struggles. More importantly, we'll learn how to choose and apply them deliberately, so exploration leads to meaningful outcomes rather than unfocused creativity. Think of this session as learning when to unleash imagination, when to restrain it, and how to channel it for maximum impact. Unconstrained or blue sky thinking is where imagination is allowed to run far ahead of reality. Its greatest strength is that it removes gravity from thought. When feasibility, cost, and current technology are temporarily set aside, the mind is free to explore ideas that would otherwise never surface. That freedom is its biggest merit. Blue sky thinking is ideal for moonshot ideas, the kind that redefine industries or open entirely new scientific frontiers. It helps us imagine futures that don't yet exist and articulate bold visions that can inspire teams, organizations, and even generations of innovation. This is why it plays a critical role in early-stage research, long-term planning, and vision-setting exercises. But that same freedom is also its weakness. Unconstrained thinking often produces ideas that are not immediately practical or sometimes not practical at all with current capabilities. If left unchecked, it can drift into fantasy. That's why blue sky thinking always needs a later phase of feasibility reframing, where imagination is translated into steps, constraints are reintroduced, and reality is invited back into the room. For maximum effectiveness, blue sky thinking should be used intentionally and in the right phase. Use it early, before solutions harden, before constraints dominate, and before incremental thinking takes over. Give it a defined space and time, then hand its outcomes to more structured frameworks that can shape those ideas into something buildable. In short, unconstrained thinking is not meant to finish the journey. It is meant to set the direction of the journey, boldly, fearlessly, and far beyond the obvious. Lateral thinking is the antidote to mental rigidity. Its greatest merit lies in its ability to break us out of well-worn paths, those invisible tracks our minds follow when we rely too heavily on logic, precedent, and past success. When thinking becomes predictable, lateral thinking introduces a deliberate disruption. This is what enables creative leaps. Instead of moving step by step, lateral thinking jumps sideways, reframing the problem, challenging assumptions, and provoking ideas that feel surprising at first but often turn out to be transformative. Many breakthrough innovations are born not from deeper analysis, but from a single sideways shift in perspective. However, lateral thinking carries an important risk. Because it intentionally loosens the grip of logic, it can sometimes drift too far from reality. Ideas may be clever but impractical, novel but unworkable. That's why lateral thinking must be followed by strong filtering, using discriminative or evaluative frameworks to test what actually holds value. To use lateral thinking effectively, timing matters. It works best when conventional approaches have stalled, when analysis keeps circling the same conclusions, or when the problem demands something genuinely new. It is especially powerful at moments of stagnation, when progress requires breaking, not refining, the existing model. In essence, lateral thinking is not about replacing logic. It is about liberating logic from its own habits, allowing fresh possibilities to emerge before reason steps back in to decide what deserves to survive. Analogical thinking is the art of borrowing insight from one world to illuminate another. Its power lies in recognizing that very different problems can share the same underlying structure, and that a solution in one domain can often inspire a solution in another. The greatest merit of analogical thinking is that it sparks cross-domain innovation. By seeing connections that aren't obvious, we can take lessons from nature, engineering, or even everyday tools and apply them to entirely new problems. It is also fast and intuitive. Once you recognize the structural similarity, the solution often appears almost naturally. But it comes with a caution. Not every similarity is meaningful. Analogies can mislead if the surface resemblance masks deep differences. Using the wrong analogy can take you down a path that seems clever but doesn't work in reality. That's why careful evaluation is crucial. Analogical thinking is most effective when we want to transfer solutions across domains. When the challenges in one area mirror challenges elsewhere, when inspiration from nature or another field can be adapted, analogical thinking accelerates problem solving and opens up entirely new possibilities. In short, analogical thinking allows us to stand on the shoulders of other domains, seeing patterns and solutions that would otherwise remain hidden. If applied thoughtfully, it can turn insight into innovation. Adaptive thinking is the skill of thinking about how you think and then adjusting it in real time. It's not a single method, it's a meta skill that coordinates multiple thinking paradigms, switching between them as the situation demands. At its core, adaptive thinking enables us to respond quickly to new information, changing conditions, and unexpected outcomes. Its greatest merit is flexibility. It prevents us from becoming trapped in outdated assumptions or strategies that no longer work. It fosters resilience in complex, volatile, or uncertain environments because it encourages continuous learning and iterative model updating. It's the skill that allows you to hold multiple approaches in parallel, choosing the right one at the right moment, and pivoting seamlessly when the context changes. In essence, it transforms thinking from reactive or linear into dynamic, responsive, and strategic. But adaptive thinking has its challenges. Overused, it can cause instability. Constant switching between approaches without fully committing can lead to indecision. There's a risk of reacting to noise rather than meaningful signals, and the skill is hard to institutionalize because it depends on individual maturity and judgment. Reflection cycles, if too long, can slow execution, and if misunderstood, adaptive thinking may appear as a lack of discipline or decisiveness. So when is adaptive thinking most powerful? It shines when the problem space is evolving, ambiguous, or poorly defined, when assumptions are repeatedly invalidated, when progress stalls despite using the correct approach, or when operating in complex systems with delayed or nonlinear feedback. It's invaluable during crises, disruptions, or unexpected failures, where rigid approaches fail and nimbleness becomes the key to survival and success. In short, adaptive thinking is the skill that allows a person or team to navigate uncertainty with purpose, coordinating creativity, analysis, and judgment dynamically, making it the ultimate enabler for mastering complex, real-world challenges. As we wrap up, the essence to carry forward is this: thinking frameworks, whether sequential or unconventional, are tools to structure and amplify our mind's natural capabilities. Combined with the right thinking styles, they don't just solve isolated problems, they expand our cognitive reach, enabling us to navigate complexity, uncover hidden possibilities, and act with both precision and creativity. By consciously applying these frameworks, A learner doesn't just become better at solving known problems, they become empowered to approach the unknown, to discern what matters, to explore beyond obvious boundaries, and to continuously adapt. In other words, they cultivate both discriminating intelligence, the clarity to analyze and judge effectively, and generative intelligence, the creativity to invent, synthesize, and transform ideas into new realities. The true power lies not in any single framework, but in knowing which framework to activate, when, and how to combine them, creating a mind capable of deliberate, flexible, and insightful action across any situation. This is the foundation of empowered, high impact thinking.